Should be public. Oh, hello, everyone. I've already got a bunch of folks watching. Hello, here we are. And welcome, and thank you so much for joining. As you may have known, if you read the stuff that told you about this, this is my good friend Rachel Yawning over in the UK. And Rachel and I were chatting, and oh wait, mute that. We were chatting about male and female energy and the conflicts that sometimes happen between men and women, and also within ourselves sometimes with our different masculine and feminine energy. And we were thinking, we ought to have a chat about that with folks, and along with some tapping to clear out and get some clarity within ourselves for to help us improve not only our relationships with other people, but also that energy inside of ourselves. Am I getting that right, Rachel?
Absolutely right, Brad, because the conflict is always within ourselves, and then it sort of gets reflected outwards into sort of our environment and our relationships, because most of the time we don't really know what's happening, and it's always somebody else's fault. But if we can bring it back into sort of our own energy system and learn what to do with it, then it's actually really, really powerful, because that reflects out as well into your environment and your relationships, and you see immediate changes very, very quickly actually really start to happen within your family unit, your friends unit, your work unit, as that energy, if you are very masculine based female, maybe because you have maybe had to, let me give you an example. Sort of when my husband left me with sort of three young boys, I felt like I had to be both mother and father, which I didn't. That's just how I felt, and that's how I dealt with it. And I think a lot of women in that situation feel like that's what we have to do. So we become more masculine with our energy, more abrasive to get things done. And that is a conflict within ourselves. But sometimes it's a necessary action to actually physically get things done in the home. But it's a conflict within yourself. And the longer we continue with that, for one, the bigger the conflict begins, and it gets worse and worse. But also it reflects out then into your family environment. So it reflected out into my boys, because I wasn't actually being true to me. I was trying to be all things, instead of just letting myself balance out and letting myself go with the flow. I was fighting against things so much, and that had that anger that I didn't know what to do, and I was so confused that I tried to control things, which is a very masculine energy. It's not about gender here, it's just a very masculine energy that I didn't actually need to control. If I just let it flow with a little bit more softness, which is a female energy, we would have had a much easier ride. But I didn't understand that then. Does that make sense?
It does. It does. And actually, now that we have a bunch of folks here, I want to just get us centered and grounded so that we can all be really present for this conversation. This is going to be a conversation. We hope that I don't have any comments in the chat room yet, but hopefully folks will, this will be an engagement. But to begin with, everyone go ahead and close your eyes. Take a deep breath in and hold it. And let it go. Now, just breathing comfortably with your eyes closed, go ahead and feel your feet on the floor or whatever part of you is connected to something. Allow yourself to feel that connection. Allow yourself to feel centered and grounded. Allowing yourself to be right here, right now, as present as possible, as to receive maximum benefit from our time together. just allow yourself to go inside. And as we talk about this male and female energy, allow yourself to be aware of what you feel physically, what you feel emotionally, what thoughts, beliefs, or memories come up as to where this may have caused some challenges for you internally, as well as in different aspects of your life and in interpersonal relationships. Just not necessarily trying to figure it all out or get it right, just allowing yourself to be aware of, okay, what sort of thoughts or feelings are coming up. Take another deep breath. Open your eyes. And let's do a little sort of starting round to clear us up. Even though I have some male and female conflict inside.
Even though I have some male and female conflict inside.
I choose to love and accept myself.
I choose to love and accept myself.
Even though I have some male and female confusion inside.
Even though I have some male and female confusion inside.
I choose to love and honor myself.
I choose to love and honor myself.
Even though there's some conflict going on inside.
Even though there's some conflict going on inside.
Between male and female energy.
Between male and female energy.
And because of a lot of the ideas I've heard about this.
And because a lot of the ideas I've heard about this.
All this programming I have.
All this programming I have.
About what the energy is.
About what the energy is.
And how I should use it.
And how I should use it.
Or how I should not use it.
Or how I should not use it.
Because a lot of us are taught.
As a lot of us are taught.
To avoid one or the other kind of energy.
To avoid one or other kind of the energy.
And even though I have all this confusion and conflict inside.
And even though I have all this conflict and confusion inside.
I choose to deeply and completely.
I choose to deeply and completely.
Love, honor, and accept myself.
Love, honor, and accept myself.
And maybe anybody else involved.
And anybody else that's involved.
Especially my mom and my dad.
Especially my mom and my dad.
Who probably taught me more than anyone about male and female energy.
Who probably did teach me much more than anybody about this energy.
All this male-female conflict.
All this male-female conflict.
All this male-female confusion.
All this male-female confusion.
All this stuff going on inside.
All this stuff going on inside.
All these beliefs.
All these beliefs.
About what's right.
About what's right.
What's appropriate.
What's appropriate.
About what I should do.
About what I should do.
And what I shouldn't do.
And what I shouldn't do.
And a lot of what I've been told.
Yeah. A lot of what I've been told.
Conflicts with what I feel inside.
Conflicts with what I feel inside.
Sometimes I'm forcing the issue.
Sometimes I'm forcing the issue.
Based on my programming.
Based on my programming.
Much of which might actually be misunderstandings.
Much of it must actually be misunderstandings. As my mother now phones me, she's obviously really tuned in.
And I don't want to dishonor my parents.
I don't want to dishonor my parents.
But I also don't want this conflict.
But I also don't want this conflict.
I choose to find the right balance within me.
I choose to find the right balance within me.
Which will help me feel more peace with others.
Yep.
I choose to feel more peace.
I choose to feel more peace.
I choose to find what feels right inside of me.
I choose to find what feels right inside of me.
I choose to honor my own feelings.
I choose to honor my own feelings.
I choose to honor myself.
I choose to honor myself.
And when I do that,
and when I do that,
I naturally honor other people.
I naturally honor other people.
So I'm allowing myself more peace in body, mind, and spirit.
So I am allowing myself more peace, body, mind, and spirit.
And take a deep breath. And
I enjoyed that.
Close your eyes. Got a few yawns there. And so everyone go ahead and close your eyes again and check in and just see what's going on in there. And just allow yourself to be aware of what's coming up, and please share with us in the comments what kind of questions, what kind of thoughts, what kind of feelings are coming up around this subject, what might have come up from that tapping round or just the meditation. And yeah. So Rachel, what I mean, share some of what was going on.
Well, for me, that was real internal churning in the depths of my stomach initially. And I could really feel that starting to sort of come up in my chest. So it was very uncomfortable. I do clear very, very quickly, everybody. So you will see me yawn a lot. And yes, even as therapists, we always have something to clear, always. And as soon as I say the word clear, I will yawn, because that is now a trigger for me to just clear about anything. So just so you know. So I had very churning stomach there that sort of came up into my chest that felt really quite tickly, but an uncomfortable tickle. And then I started to yawn. And then as that session, so that round progressed, I could literally feel everything starting to calm down. Pardon me, but I now needed to burp, so I am sorry.
That's so unladylike.
You are going to see it all today, everybody. I'm here for a reason, just to prove to you that it's okay to clear. It's all natural. Don't hold it in.
No, especially when we're tapping. That's such a great way to clear things out. This is the first time I've done a live where there haven't been any comments in the chat, and I'm wondering if there is something not working on the. I think I just sent you the link. If you can check on there and try commenting.
Yep, will do.
Because we had said this was going to be a conversation, and it's going to be a very one-sided people aren't actually able to chat.
Oh, hold on. I'm just trying to mute that now.
That's all right.
Where's not letting me comment?
All right, there's a comment. Yay. Okay. I don't know what was.
We got people commenting?
Yeah. I don't know what was blocking before, but now it seems to be working.
Oh yes, here we go. I've got it now.
Hello. Okay.
Wow. Oh, there we go. It wasn't letting me before. Yeah, it's just sort of popped up. It's fine now. Okay, it's just started working, hasn't it?
Yeah. Okay. So it was the for some reason the chat option wasn't showing up before, and it wasn't just that everybody's like, no, we're not talking.
I think there's delays. The delay is really quite prominent sometimes, isn't it?
Yes.
But welcome everybody. We hope that you've managed to join in with that round of tapping, and do let us know how you got on.
Yeah. So the key is, Rachel, if you haven't done it like this before, it's better if you somehow cover up the image on the YouTube. Otherwise, you'll be constantly looking and going, wait, that's what I did a few seconds.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
I had to learn that the hard way over this past year during the pandemic. A lot of Facebook and YouTube lives. It's like I would want to read the comments, but if I was watching the video at the same time,
it's really off-putting, isn't it? Okay, yeah. Okay, so everyone's joining in now. Fabulous. Identify with letting it flow, not forcing the energy, and love myself, and all will be well. Absolutely. And I just want to ask everybody as well, if you don't mind, Brad, is, you know, balancing out the female and masculine energy is very, very prominent right now. The energies that are sort of going on around in the planet, it's really bringing up that we need to balance. Okay, and a lot of this is really feeling very quite, from a female point of view, really quite womb-like, because there's been so much oppression over the years, regardless of what the events are. We're not going to go in events and things, but just because of circumstances that have happened, and, you know, females going through a monthly cycle and giving birth. From that aspect alone, there is a lot of actual trauma as well as joy that's involved in that process, which brings in a lot of guilt and shame, and lots of other, and fear as well, you know, if we don't actually understand things that are going on. So being able to balance out that area of our life is really quite prominent quite now. And I also feel it's very prominent from the masculine side as well, because that sense of control and anger and sort of a oppressive behavior sometimes, again, is quite a sexual driven type energy, which does come from that area. And it is a manner that in the past, you know, a lot of men have used that for whatever reason. So it is balancing that area out, which I think is going to be really quite significant moving on. Does that resonate with anybody out there? How do you feel about that, Brad?
Yeah, I absolutely see that. And, you know, and everyone notice I always recommend tapping on a daily basis. So while we're here together, use this as an opportunity to do some tapping, just clearing stress, not only stuff that comes up as we have this conversation, but just other stuff that might be there, the ambient stress that is always there, especially in the information age. I mean, a real quick comment for Janet, who asked about you yawning. There are many different physical manifestations of energy shifting. And when we're doing EFT, yawning is one of the most prominent. It's one of the ones we see the most. There are all kinds of things. Burping, for me, my shoulders, when I'm really hitting on something, my shoulders will start rolling. It doesn't mean that if you're not yawning that EFT isn't working. People experience it in different ways. It's just sometimes more profound. So that's why the yawning comes up. And so there's so much of the programming we have about, that's why I was joking when you said burping and said, that's so unladylike, because there's so much of that programming about that's unladylike or that's unmanly. Yeah. You know, not only from our parents, but from society. And that's controlling masculine energy that we so often see. And not only are speaking as a man and speaking for myself, but I know a lot of men who can relate to this. Not only are we not tuning into what might be called feminine energy and, you know, the more nurturing and kind of aspects of ourselves, but we're told not to. And that kind of frustration can lead to more aggression, because there's this conflict inside, and fighting against those that part of ourselves then can come out in some really unhealthy behavior and beliefs. So, you know, it's really allowing ourselves to to be open to that and clear that and see what feels like the right balance. Because if we can't allow the balance inside of ourselves, how on earth are we going to can we expect to see it in the outside world? If we keep saying it has to be this, then we're in a pickle, as is.
And it very much reminds me, actually, I watched a video, I think it was last night, of two of my trainees did a Zoom together, and they tagged me in, and they were absolutely hysterical laughing. They could hardly get through the you know, they were giving each other some treatment, and they could hardly get through the routine because they were crying laughter. They were clearing so beautifully. But within all of that, every time they came back to clear, to work on something, I think they were even on the liver meridian, one of them was burping, which, from, as you said, from a female point of view, we're often told how disgusting that is, and you know, we shouldn't do that. But from a male perspective, that might be considered, you know, my boys, when they were younger, they'd have burping competitions or the other end competitions. And you know, it can be really quite disgusting if there's a smell and things with it, can't it? But at the end of the day, that is a really natural way to clear your energy system. And if we can accept that as something that is okay, and we're making space inside us for all the new beautiful things to come in, we're much more accepting of these things leaving our body. And it's when we try and suppress it all and control it, again, this is the, you know, that male masculine energy, sorry, not male, masculine energy that comes in to try and suppress what generally just needs to flow out of us. And that female energy is very much about flowing and letting things out.
So that's the message of our that's the message of our conversation today is, hey, let it rip. You know,
absolutely let it rip.
Damn the torpedoes.
You don't need to tell us all about it, but let it rip. Okay, so yeah, so we're getting quite a few comments here that yeah, how are boys and healthy masculinity that's more balanced with both energies. So I just want to touch on here about the shame and the guilt and the anger, and how we actually
I was actually going to, because you brought that up a moment ago, I was going to ask you if you might, I mean, say whatever you want to say, but also if you would guide a tapping round on that, around that perspective. I think that would be.
Yeah, absolutely. Now I'm going to sit back a bit because I'm going to use the, it's a very underused point really in EFT, but I'm going to be using the liver meridian for here. Okay, so that's just underneath on this point here, and the gallbladder meridian. So we're going to balance out sort of for the yin and yangs, okay, the masculine and female energies. So we're going to use 4 points. This is the gallbladder meridian. So this is very much about bitterness and anger. Okay. So even though
you've
been feeling all this bitterness, and resentment, for all of that. And there was so much of that. I accept that it happened. Because it did. And I accept me anyway. And all of that happened. And I was so angry. So angry. I just didn't know what to do with myself. I wonder if it's safe now. In this moment. To let some of that go. All of that anger. Connected to that. And if it's okay now. That's okay. That's okay now. Just breathe in. I'm just going to go to little finger now. It's the heart meridian. Okay. It's okay now.
It's okay now.
To bring in some love.
To bring in some love.
To myself.
To myself.
Because of that.
Because of that.
Because I didn't know.
Because I didn't know.
Then.
What
I know now.
What I know now.
What if it's okay now?
What if it's okay now?
To bring in some love.
To bring in some love.
To that little me.
To that little me.
I wonder if that's okay now.
I wonder if that's okay now.
The outside little finger. I wonder if that's okay now.
I wonder if that's okay now.
If I can just bring in some love.
If I could just bring in some love.
For that little me.
About little me.
And me now.
And me now.
I think that's okay now.
I think that's okay now.
Deep breath in. One more. And those 4 points, they're really quite prominent on that love for yourself and the anger and the bitterness that we do carry around. And it just helps to balance out those meridians a little bit better. So it's a slightly different routine than the normal EFT, but sometimes it's nice to just mix it up a little bit as well.
Absolutely. And for those who don't know, EFT was based off of a process called thought field therapy. Roger Callahan, who first came up with this idea, or obviously didn't come up with the idea of the acupuncture system that's been around for thousands of years, but this process he had, and he would just focus on a couple of different key acupuncture points depending on what the issue is. And I often encourage folks, if you find yourself drawn to a particular point, by all means, don't sit there and think, no, EFT, it's 5 to 10 times on each point in order, and I must continue that. If you feel drawn to a particular point, go for it. And sometimes it might not seem there. The gallbladder point is traditionally associated with anger, resentment, bitterness. You may find yourself saying, I'm angry, but I feel like tapping here, which is generally associated with shame. Trust your instinct, you know. So don't get caught up in the idea of, well, EFT is all the points through the thing. That's your body knows, and sometimes what is coming up is there's something deeper underneath that. So
yeah,
and
absolutely.
Someone asked about I love you too. I love you 200. Asked about why the liver point may be sore.
That's a really good indicator of a point that might need clearing. Okay, so that's a really good indicator for you. So if you go round all the points, and you will notice, and sometimes it might be on one side more than the other. Again, this is very much your balancing your male and female energies, left and right side of the brain as well. Okay, I know that my right side of my body, which is actually the left side of my brain, is much more tense, because that's logic, and quite, you know. So when I do yoga and things like that, there are certain poses that I really struggle to get into because that right side of my body is just not as flexible. But because I'm more creative, then the left side is really, you know, flowing much more easily. So there's lots of ways of actually discovering how your energy is flowing, and sort of where those balances might be. But if any point is sore, and the liver meridian is actually usually a point where people go, ouch, because we have a lot of suppressed anger and bitterness in there that, you know, it gets hidden because, for one, we never go there. Yeah, it's not a point that we use very often. So unless you're in the bath, you know, and these get in the way if you're a woman, for a start, you know what I mean? So it's just not.
Which is why Gary Craig didn't. That's why Gary Craig didn't use it in live workshops. It's why I don't do it in live workshops, is because it can be uncomfortable for some people to try to tap that point in public. And for some reason, just because of that, I almost never use it in videos as well. Even though people watching the video at home are probably in a place where they can do that. It's just out of habit now, but I'm glad you brought up using that point.
Well,
And if a point is sore,
sorry.
feel free to, you can rub a point. If it feels really uncomfortable to tap, you can rub the point, or even holding the point and breathing is a good way to stimulate. Remember, this is a self-care technique. It's not a matter of, it's sore and I need to hurt myself to be able to get the relief. Please be gentle and loving toward yourself.
Yeah, and that's something to work on if that's what you want to do. You know, there's obviously something that might need clearing there. What's Wendy saying? I'm almost in tears while tapping on the second point, but calm down, tapping the little finger. Yeah, you know, it's the system that I use, which is called TARG. We really do slow down EFT. So we slow down EFT to such a level that you become really, really conscious how your energy is shifting within the use of just that one point. And the revelations that you have of just maybe the stomach meridian on its own is really quite deep and meaningful to certain chapters of your life. And then it just gently leads on to sort of the next meridian in the Chinese clock, which is actually that clock behind me is the system I use quite a lot. So yeah, sometimes slowing EFT down is actually, it's a very conscious way of moving forward on your journey. Sometimes we can clear very quickly with EFT, and it takes quite a long time to understand why. Sometimes we don't need to at all. We don't need to know why. But I think the more mindful we become on our journey and the more conscious of how our body is reacting, and then taking time to catch up with our mindset, the more gentle we can be with ourselves and accepting that that is a process that we just need to wait to happen instead of trying to rush our bodies.
Yeah. I'm really quickly, just in the chat room, I'm going to put a link to the interview that I did with Rachel last year, where she talks more about the tapping around the clock. I believe that's,
thank you.
I think I just put the right, yeah. So you can, if you find out more, because what Rachel's doing with tapping is pretty interesting, and can be very powerful. So you can check that out. But we're here talking about the male and female energy, and
so Liz is saying here, be true to yourself, male or female. In the end, we are all spirits inside our bodies, just beautiful, loving energy. Focus on your inner spirit. Absolutely, Liz, absolutely. But what if our spirit is also that mixture of male and female energy, so that when we actually become balanced, then we are true to our spirit? Is that the journey that we need to go on, so that we are more in touch with our spirit and our inner path and our soul? I think I'm finding that the more I work with people as well as myself, that actually the more we can balance those out, the more really connected you are to your inner path, your soul journey, your true path, your journey, and spirit and connection, oneness, everything is my interpretation. One
of the reasons that I used the image of the yin yang is it can almost be more comfortable to use the concept of yin yang, because for most of us, we have a vague idea of what it means, but it doesn't trigger us the way male, female, masculine, feminine triggers us, because, you know, mind identifies, associates, and responds. When we hear something, part of us runs to the file cabinet and goes, okay, what do we know about this? And with yin yang, it's like, don't know, cool little black white symbol. You know, it's Chinese, right? I find this on the web. So it doesn't have that same kind of trigger. Whereas when we talk about masculine, feminine, male, female, we have all kinds of file cabinets and all kinds of information, much of which is just not true. It's misunderstandings, it's misleading. And so, and a lot of it tells us, don't even look at that. You can't look at that. You shouldn't look at that. And so there's more conflict. So we can, you know, the idea of balancing it out is really triggering. That's why people get so triggered, you know, now with the gender fluidity and the concept of non-binary, and that pushes a lot of buttons for a lot of people, because like, no, there's male, there's female, and it feels threatening. So that's the thing, is looking at any of these any concept where we're talking about male female energy or masculine feminine, and even just you made the distinction earlier, because you know, for many people, male masculine are the same thing, and for other people, like, you know, totally different associations with those kinds of things. And so, and that's why I'm encouraging people to keep tapping as I say this, is just allowing yourself to be clear in whatever kind of thoughts and old stuff might be coming up that you might not be consciously aware. Part of your mind might be saying, Brad's just rambling. But another part of you is going, oh, but I relate to that, and this means something to me, and I shouldn't listen to that, and I need to close down here. And so just allowing yourself to be clearing those things, so that it's like, oh, it's totally okay to look at the balance, the fluidity there. You know, that's the whole thing about the yin yang, is it's a fluid symbol, and allowing ourselves to be okay with looking at that and allowing ourselves to find that that beauty of it. So it's not a matter of, you know, well, okay, in order to recognize the beauty of ourselves, we shouldn't see the black and the white and the yin yang. It should just all be gray. We're just all gray. And it's like, you know, the conceptual thing there. But allowing ourselves to find that that comfortable place for, you know, and I certainly am not going to say it should be this. And in the yin yang, you notice that the black and the white are absolutely the same size and the same this, and it's you know, different strokes for different folks, and it's finding that level of peace and what's true to yourself inside.
And I you know, I think I do quite believe as well that we are supposed to experience both, even if we say our shadow self and our positive self, the yin yang. We are here to experience all emotions, all feelings as human beings. So it's not wrong to be going through a part of your life where one side will be more dominant than another, but there will come a point in our lives where we won't want that side to be overly dominant anymore, because it's caused us to be unhappy for too long. Whereas if we can balance out that maybe that softer side to us, we can bring in more joy and compassion into ourselves, so that we can find that joy and that unconditional love, and sustain ourselves at it for longer periods of time, instead of it just being a glimpse or a snatch here and there. We can actually have quite sustainable amounts of time at those levels, and then learn actually how to be more resilient, because when we come off and we know we're not on that right path, the intensity when we come off that path of where we want to be is so intense. It feels so off path. We're in a way, it's like being more intense than when we first ever experienced it, because we are so off kilter with it that we jump back faster and faster, and we start to use all the tools that we've learned along the way to make sure we get back up there as quickly as possible, because it's unpleasant. We don't like it anymore. So if we've not reached that stage yet, that's okay. There will just come a point in our life where we might just want to balance things out a little bit more. Does that make sense? Someone was asking as well about fear. This is the triple warmer, triple heater, the gamut. So this is very much fight, flight, and freeze. So this is a really nice one to just sort of hold as well, and wait for a pulse, and then do the same for the other side. And that is counterbalanced by the spleen, which is under here. And again, this is underworked. So it's not surprising that our fight, flight and freeze, pardon me, is literally always on the go, because under here our spleen is very, very underworked. It's not actually our spleen, it's our spleen meridian.
Yeah.
So does that make sense?
And if I'm not mistaken, the other points that are associated with fear are the stomach point and the kidney point, which is when we're tapping the collarbone point. That's why I like to tap the collarbone point, because pretty much all the uncomfortable emotions have fear underneath them. So I'm just going to go right to the source of what's there. Yet it's interesting, because it is almost unfortunate that we call these different aspects masculine and feminine. Like aggression is masculine and nurturing is feminine. So that it's associated with our gender. That's why I think it'd be better if it was yin yang. So it's not like, because no one says, oh, you were born a yin and you have to be yin. It's like, no, I have both of those inside. Whereas with masculine and feminine, it's like, oh, well, I was born a boy, so I'm supposed to be aggressive and I'm not supposed to be nurturing. And that natural part of ourselves is balanced out. Likewise for a lot of women, well, you're not supposed to be assertive. You're supposed to just be, let the male take the lead and control, because that's the masculine energy, and the female. And it's like, yeah, if we could just we could just call it yin and yang and go, you have both inside, regardless of your gender, and you, because of hormonal makeup inside the body, you may tend towards one or the other. But to say that it should be all this or mostly this, regardless, based on that, this programming forces us to defy what we might actually feel inside. So
let's read some of these now. Kim B is asking, can we do a tap around opening our hearts to alter our beliefs we have held around the opposite sex? Hey Brad, thanks for letting me through my last semester of grad school. Fantastic. I tap my spine for root chakra as well. Many weird sensations come up and I don't really enjoy it. Okay, I meant finding out he's on Instagram. Oh, no, he's on Instagram. Everywhere. Okay, hello from London. Hello. Okay, so what's Angela? Oh, hello, Angela. Yes, I needed to bring in the more assertive action. Taking energy as a female has been important for me, because I was so passive. It was, hurtful to me. And that is another thing, isn't it? Sometimes as we are very passive, whether that be, it is confusing this, isn't it? The male and female energies, I am going to say the yin and yang, because as a female, if we are overly made to be submissive, if we are cowed down throughout our childhood, maybe it's a cultural thing or environment that we're in, we lose our ability to be vocal, we lose our ability to communicate effectively, and therefore we get very confused about what our needs are, because we are so accommodating to everybody else's needs that we accept them as our own. When this happens an awful lot when ladies are pregnant and have children, we become the mother, and therefore our needs become secondary, and we take on the needs of those children, and we can often get lost along the way in that process. But again, that can also be cultural and environmental. But some guys on here, are there any guys on here? It'd be really good to get your view on she says, he feels, she feels. How do you feel about that, Brad?
Yeah, well, and just to real quick to do another tapping around here. So everyone go ahead and close your eyes. And allow yourself to think about the opposite sex. And now you may be thinking of people in your life. You may be, and you can also just allow yourself to be aware the opposite energy inside yourself. So, whether it's people outside of you or just your own internal conflict, allow yourself to be aware of how troubling that might feel, where there might feel tension, where there might feel resentment, pain, where such that you feel your heart or other parts of you closing down and resisting. Open your eyes, take a deep breath. Even though I feel this resistance inside,
even though I feel this resistance inside,
I choose to love and accept myself.
I choose to love and accept myself.
Even though I feel this resistance inside,
even though I feel this resistance inside,
I choose to love and honor myself.
I choose to love and honor myself.
Even though I feel all this resistance inside,
even though I feel all this resistance inside,
to the so-called opposite energy,
to this so-called opposite energy,
whether it's inside myself,
whether it's inside myself,
or whether it's other people,
or whether it's other people.
Who represent that energy.
I lost you then, Brad.
Who represent that energy.
Who represent that energy.
Even though I feel all this resistance,
even though I feel all this resistance,
I choose to deeply and completely
I choose to deeply and completely
love, honor, and accept myself.
Love, honor, and accept myself.
And maybe these other people.
And maybe these other people.
Because I choose to be that free.
Because I choose to be that free.
All this resistance.
All this resistance.
All this resistance towards the opposite energy.
All this resistance towards the opposite energy.
All this fear of the opposite energy.
All this fear of the opposite energy.
And it's not because I'm bad or stupid.
It's not because I'm bad or stupid.
It's because I'm trying to protect myself.
It's because I'm trying to protect myself.
Because I've had experiences in my life.
Because I've had experiences in my life.
And actually, I'm just going to go ahead and we'll use this point here. So it's right here. It's about 2 inches below the nipple. I'm not going to. I have experiences in my life.
I have experiences in my life.
Where I've been hurt by this opposite energy.
Where I've been hurt by this opposite energy.
Either I felt the hurt inside.
Either I felt the hurt inside.
Or I felt it from other people.
Or I felt it from other people.
Who embodied that opposite energy.
Who embodied that opposite energy.
Whether it was guys who were way too masculine.
Whether it was guys that were way too masculine.
Or women who were way too feminine.
Or women that were way too feminine.
Whatever it was.
Whatever it was.
Part of me said, that's dangerous to me.
Part of me said, that's dangerous.
And I resist people who represent that opposite energy.
And I resist people that represent that opposite energy.
And I resist that energy inside of myself.
And I resist that energy inside of myself.
Because part of me says,
because part of me says,
even if it's energy inside of myself.
Even if it's energy inside of myself.
Some part of me that wants to feel more yin or yang.
Some part of me that wants to feel more yin or yang.
I think of people outside of me.
I think of people outside of me.
Who represent that energy.
Who represent that energy.
And it hurt me.
And it hurt me.
And so I resist it inside.
And so I resist it inside.
And I love and appreciate parts of me.
And I love and accept myself.
And I love and appreciate those parts of me.
And I love and appreciate those parts of me.
That are just trying to take care of me.
That are just trying to take care of me.
And sometimes those parts of me oversimplify.
And sometimes those parts of me oversimplify.
And they see things in black and white.
And they see things in black and white.
And I might look at all men.
And I might look at all men.
And see dangerous masculine energy.
And see dangerous masculine energy.
I might look at all women.
I might look at all women.
And just see dangerous feminine energy.
And see dangerous feminine energy.
And I feel this resistance.
And I feel this resistance.
And my heart closes.
And my heart closes.
Because I'm trying to save myself.
Because I'm trying to save myself.
I'm allowing myself to see.
I'm allowing myself to see.
It's not the energy that's bad.
It's not the energy that's bad.
It's people's confusion about the energy.
It's people's confusion about the energy.
And there are a lot of confused people out there.
And there's a lot of confused people out there.
So these people who have hurt me.
So those people that have hurt me.
It's not their energy that was wrong.
It's not their energy that's wrong.
It was their beliefs about the energy.
It's their beliefs about the energy.
And how that came out in their behavior.
And how they take it out in their behavior.
So I can forgive the energy.
So I can forgive the energy.
While avoiding toxic people.
Whilst avoiding toxic people.
I'm allowing myself to feel loving and forgiving.
And allowing myself to feel loving and forgiving.
That doesn't mean I stop protecting myself.
That doesn't mean I stop protecting myself.
I'm allowing myself to feel more love.
I'm allowing myself to feel more love.
For all aspects of myself.
For all aspects of myself.
For both kinds of energy.
For both kinds of energy.
So that I can be more open to other people.
So that I can be more open to other people.
I'm still smart.
I'm still smart.
I still have my wisdom and experience.
I still have my wisdom and experience.
And I can catch those red flags.
And I can catch those red flags.
I can say.
And I can say.
Okay, that's not just masculinity.
Okay, that's not just masculine energy.
That's toxic masculinity.
That's toxic masculine energy.
Or toxic femininity.
Or toxic feminine energy.
I can allow myself to be wise.
I can allow myself to be wise.
While also being more loving to myself inside.
Whilst also being more loving to myself inside.
As I allow myself to heal.
I allow myself to heal.
In body, mind, and spirit.
In body, mind, and spirit.
And take a deep breath. Just go inside and see what's going on in there, and feel free to share any comments in the comments.
Okay.
We're glad you caught us live too, Angelique.
The Netherlands. So glad. Yay.
Bunch of folks from the UK. I'm supposed to be back in the UK this year. Every odd year for the past decade I've been there, and I sure hope I can make it this year.
And we want you to come back as soon as possible.
Yeah. Loss and grief. Yeah.
Well, I started off with absolute turmoil churning in all inside me, and now I'm feeling so much calmer. I can breathe deeper.
Yeah.
How's it affecting you? Can you breathe deeper, everybody? Are you noticing it in your breath?
Tension in my neck disappeared. Awesome. Awesome. Yeah. Hey, Rachel, you want to lead us in a round on loss and grief?
Oh.
Let's see. Anna was saying that that's something that's coming up from the tapping.
Yes. Okay. We're going to move on. So we're moving on from the 4 meridians that we did earlier, and we're going to do another 4 meridians to balance out the yin and yang of those. So we're going to incorporate our bladder meridian here. Okay, and then our kidney meridian, and then our lungs and large intestine. So even though I have all this guilt, sorry, grief. It's grief we're doing. So,
but you may feel guilty about feeling grief. So,
you see, yeah, I'm so. There we go. Even though I have all this grief.
Even though I have all this grief.
And I feel so unsupported.
I feel so unsupported.
I accept that's how I feel.
I accept that's how I feel.
Because it is.
Because it is.
And I accept me anyway.
And I accept me anyway.
So all of this grief.
All of this grief.
And this loss.
And this loss.
So much loss.
So much loss.
I accept that it's there.
I accept that it's there.
I accept that it's been part of me.
I accept that it's been part of me.
Because it has.
Because it has.
And I love and accept me anyway.
And I love and accept me anyway.
All of this grief.
All of this grief.
All of this grief.
All of this grief.
And all of this loss.
And all of this loss.
Takes away my freedom.
Takes away my freedom.
Consumes me.
Consumes me.
I accept that's how it's been.
I accept that's how it's been.
Wonder if it's okay now.
I wonder if it's okay now.
In this moment.
In this moment.
In this moment.
In this moment.
Just breathe in some freedom.
Just breathe in some freedom.
And just breathe.
Just breathe.
Just make some space.
Just make some space.
Just make some space right now.
Making some space right now.
Just so I can breathe.
Just so I can breathe.
From all this loss and grief.
From all this loss and grief.
I accept that it's there.
I accept that it's there.
But what if I can just take a deep breath in?
What if I can just take a deep breath in?
Create a little bit of space.
It creates a little bit of space.
To move forward with.
To move forward with it.
Let's create some space.
I'm creating space.
Just to move forward with.
Just to move forward with.
Even though there's all this grief.
Even though there's all this grief.
I accept that's been part of me.
I accept it's been part of me.
And I love and accept me anyway.
And I love and accept me anyway.
I love and accept me anyway.
I love and accept me anyway.
All this grief and loss.
All this grief and loss.
It comes from love.
It comes from love.
It comes from love.
It comes from love.
Just let some space in.
Just letting some space in.
To let that love seep through.
To let that love seep through.
Into those pockets.
Into those pockets.
Of grief.
Of grief.
And loss.
And loss.
Deep breath in. Index finger now. One more breath in. All that grief and loss.
All that grief and loss.
Just bring in some space.
Just bring in some space.
So that I can breathe.
So that I can breathe.
And I love and accept me.
And I love and accept me.
And all that I am.
And all that I am.
And all that I have been.
And all that I have been.
And all that I am.
And all that I am.
And all that I have been.
And all that I have been.
I love and accept me anyway.
I love and accept me anyway.
Deep breath in.
That was awesome. Oh, there go the shoulders.
And you might feel that one in your shoulders, because when we hit the longer meridian, it very much releases the tension in the neck and the shoulders. Okay. So we've got Melbourne that's just joined us now. Love that. I was seeing images of girl bullies from school. Wow. It's
Thank
amazing,
you very much
isn't
for the
it?
donations to Feed in America. That's awesome. A lot of my videos have that. Just thought, you know, if I can put something up there, because certainly during the pandemic, and great if you can donate to other organizations that are supporting people that have been struggling through the pandemic. So thank you very much for that.
Well,
Awesome.
I'm feeling quite calm now. I'm feeling really quite blissed out. How is everybody else?
And so we, you know, Rachel and I didn't have like a set out agenda. It's like, it's a concept of, here's something that you know, we agreed was something that could really be healing and beneficial. And you know, no idea of what is beyond this, but it's certainly a conversation that we could continue and do another, you know, maybe something like this. Please let us know what your thoughts are. If, you know, if you found this valuable, if you would like to see, to continue the conversation at some point and explore. I know there's a couple of other ideas about tapping that could have been done, but want to be mindful of the time. I don't assume that people, oh, we're gonna get on a live video and I've got all day and all night to just sit there and tap with Rachel and Brad.
It's been a pleasure, hasn't it? So, oh, well, bless you, Jake. I'm glad that helped you after a really tough day. So shoulders feel tight.
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah, bless you, dear boy. I feel a bit sad. That was really good. Okay. So we're glad that's helped. And yeah, if
and these are openings to something even better.
That's it. It's creating some space inside you. It just leads to beautiful, wonderful things just being filled into that little spot that you've just opened up a little bit. It's amazing what can be filled in that space quite quickly. So fill it up with some really beautiful, gorgeous goodness, deliciousness.
As I always like to say, you are a magnificent child of the universe, worthy and deserving of the best this world has to offer, and nothing is too good for you. And in general, we have a tendency to settle for far less than what we deserve. And we then figure that's how it is, and we cling to that. And so, yeah, just to show up, you know, thank you for showing up for this and just allowing yourself to tap through and create that opening, you know, and look at those places where there's resentment or grief or whatever it might be that has been lodged in there for maybe decades and hasn't made space for what's better and what's possible for you, because so much wonderful stuff is possible for you.
Oh gosh,
whether it's stuff from the outside or just even a more loving feeling inside. I always talk about the Michelangelo principle, and the masterpiece is already there inside.
Absolutely.
And we're clearing away what covers it up. And as we, you know, and we often cling to our resentment and our grief because we're told it's that. Just as we cling to our ideas of what masculine energy is and what female energy is, and what we should have and what we should be and what we and all this. And as we allow ourselves to tap through that and just see, I just found another level of love that I didn't know. There's more joy and there's more gratitude. Oh, hey, I could get used to that.
And absolutely get used to it, because it is beautiful. We should all get used to it.
And expand it. And as you feel it inside of you, you naturally share it, and everything is energy. We're all connected. So the more of that, the more you process those uncomfortable emotions, not just eradicate them. It's not a matter of there's bad feelings, we need to tap them away. It's a processing that, because there's something in that for us. you know, and processing that, and then allowing the greater level of love and peace and joy and gratitude that's underneath that we then just naturally share with others. So thank you very much for joining us to do that.
Absolutely. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you all on. Thank you so much for joining in and watching.
Yeah.
And for those of you on replay, enjoy.
Thank you, Rachel, for inspiring this. And for
thank you, Brad, for agreeing to this.
And we'll look at when we can continue this. So stay tuned. All right.